Prepare to get gas because it's time for the week in gear for the last time this year. Welcome to the last episode of TWIG for 2024, but don't worry if you're still thirsty for more. I'll be rounding up my favorite gear of the year next week in the year in gear, which is the last video about gear this year until next year, in which I will be covering more gear. I hope that doesn't go in one ear and out the other ear. This week is sponsored by Pedaltrain and their Pedalboard planner. More about that in a bit. Let's kick off this week's most exciting guitar gear releases with a new looper from Zoom. No, sorry, Zoom had the looper last week. There's two more this week. This week, there's a new looper from Electro-Harmonix. All right, loopy-doopy fans, here's one for you, the Electro-Harmonix Pico 360 Plus looper. This thing is tiny, like really tiny. Well, it's the same size as a TC Ditto and Ditto Plus, but it's crammed in most things that you'd get in a bigger looper, and now you get it in a smaller looper, so it doesn't take up half your pedal board. If you're into layering riffs or experimenting with soundscapes, this little box might just become your new obsession. You get six minutes of uncompressed recording time split across 11 memories. That is more than enough space to be creative. But the sound quality? Yes, 24-bit audio conversion at a 44.1 kilohertz sample rate. Pretty standard so far. I've got excited a bit too much, actually. There are independent dry and loop level knobs, and there's an adjustable fade-out time upon stopping a loop. Honestly, there are lots of looper pedals being released recently, and the biggest thing about this, actually, is that it's pretty small. I don't think this Pico looper changes the game in terms of functionality, but there is a lot of that functionality packed into a small footprint. This is going to set you back just under around 140 notes, depending on where you live. And if you're currently playing a Ditto looper and you need a bit more tweakability in a small space, then you might want to take a look at this. Links in the video description and first comment. If you've ever wished for a power amp that's as portable as your overdrive pedal, Lichtlaerm Audio has heard your prayers and answered them. The Pandora Big P and Big A at the end is a 60-watt analog power amplifier that is small enough to slip onto your pedal board, but powerful enough to drive an 8-ohm cabinet with ease. It's basically a tiny monster built for the modern guitar player. So you're looking at 60 watts at 8 ohms or 30 watts at 16 ohms. So it is more than ready for rehearsals, gigs, or just annoying your family and neighbors. The real big point here is the analog design. Lichtlaerm claims that this mimics the responsiveness of a tube amp with features like negative feedback loop and analog impedance approximation. Translation to English? It sounds and feels alive under your fingers and should excite you, which is rare for something this small. The controls are straightforward but effective, level for volume, presence for dialing in your highs, and depth for shaping your lows. My first question was, why does an amp pedal need a foot switch? But, well, I'll answer that question myself. It's a mute, so you can turn the amp off and have a silent rig. And I don't mean silent recording rig, I mean it just turns it off and makes it silent. It is super flexible with power too. The Big P and or Big A works with 12 to 24 volt power sources. It's AC or DC, and it doesn't care about polarity. So as long as you're within those voltages, you can plug in kind of anything it fits and it won't blow it up, which is more than I can say for most pedals. In fact, I'm not sure if I support that, because maybe people will just get into the habit of plug in any old thing in. Plug your kettle in. Plug your microwave in. Just plug it into your pedal board. Plus, though, it is ideal for stereo rigs or wet, dry, wet setups, or wet, dry, or any number of wet, wet, dries and dries. If you're into those, fancy spaceship pedal board type things. At 199 euros, it's not exactly cheap, but for what it offers, power, portability, and a piece of analog magic, it's a no-brainer if you need a compact amp solution that sounds pretty good. It is handmade in Berlin with an estimated production time of 14 to 20 days. This one's worth the wait. A big thank you to John at Sonic Drive Studios for allowing me to use his video. I will link to that video in this video description. Go and watch it. It sounds brilliant. Now, let's take a little break from talking about this gear to talking about something else you can spend your time doing instead of actually practicing guitar. The pedalboard planner from Pedaltrain. If you're planning on buying a new pedal and want to know if it's going to fit on your existing pedalboard, there's a website you need to take a look at. This is pedalboardplanner.com from Pedaltrain. And here you can select one of the many pedal boards, let's say a Classic 3. Now you can add some pedals to it to see if they fit. You can even connect boards together. Aha! You can change the background to something more Nirvana. Festival season. It's free, it's easy to use, and there are lots of pedals available. Check out pedalboardplanner.com to make life easier and quite fun as well. You'll find links to that underneath this video. On with the show! If you enjoy this weekly show, why not write a little haiku about it? This is mine. More gear, more delight. Each week drains my wallet's might. The week in gear shines. Quite proud of that. Alternatively, just share the link with your friends on social media. Thank you! Alrighty, back to the gear. Let's talk about the Solar Guitars AB6BCM. This is the newest addition to the European Master Series. Now, if you're into guitars that scream professional performance without compromise, this one's got your name on it. Assuming that your name is Ola, or Sol, or La, or if you just love to drop tune, Chug. This beast starts with an alder body dressed in charcoal metallic gloss, so it's got that dark, mysterious vibe while staying very classy. The neck is a 5-piece maple construction with a thin C profile, and the none more black Richlight fingerboard is paired with 24 stainless steel frets. Now, let's talk hardware. The EverTune bridge is here and is doing what it does best, being paired with some locking tuners and helping this Solar guitar stay in tune. And those locking tuners are Solar locking tuners. Electronics-wise, we're looking at Solar's own custom humbuckers, the modern SA56B in the bridge, and the SA56N in the neck. Oh, and there's a push-pull coil split on the Solo Lonely Volume knob, which gives you more tonal options than may first appear. Scharler's 5-way mega switch lets you go from chunky metal cleans and then to, I don't know, metal riffs and maybe some metal jazz as well. And Solar have thrown in some Lumin Lay side dots because playing in the dark should be fun, not terrifying. And let's not skip this little flex, a molded flight case and a signed certificate of authenticity from Ola himself. Not just a guitar, it's an experience. At around 3,000 notes, this is definitely for the serious players out there, but if you're looking for a flagship guitar that combines looks, playability, some serious chug mojo, and a lot less resaleability, then the Solar AB6BCM might just be your next expenditure. For me, I do dig it. It does look like Solar have ironed out some of the little creases that you see in some of the standard models, but sometimes I think this is a super expensive guitar that will appeal to a select few. Specs alone, however, it looks like it'll deliver, and I think it looks great. It's just a lot of money that you've got to be darn sure you want this guitar, because if you want to sell it later, you're going to lose a lot of money. Possibly. Don't quote me on that. And definitely don't contact Ola and say that Andy said that. I'm scared. Okay, I tried writing a joke about looper pedals, but I didn't quite finish it all the way. I came up with, why are looper pedals like buses? Because they just go round and round continuously. I thought that was, I didn't think it was up to scratch. So another one, why are looper pedals like buses? Because, you know, you wait ages for one and then it seems like 3 show up at the same time. That's slightly better, but I'm sure that you can do better than that. please leave me a looper joke in the comments section, and I will use it next time we talk about a looper pedal, which at this rate is going to be tomorrow. Anyway, 2 looper pedals have shown up in this show at the same time, so let's talk about the second one. The Mooer GL100 is a stereo looper and drum machine combo that's a bit like having a backing band at your very feet. First up, the looper. It gives you a whopping 300 minutes of recording time across 100 storage slots. So yeah, you can lay down enough riffs to make your next concept album, or at least pretend you're going to. The drum machine is no slouch either, with 20 patterns and 11 variations for each, spanning a load of genres and time signatures. Think of it as your personal drummer that is available for rehearsal all day, every day, all the time, and sober. The dream. And it won't try and sleep with your significant other. The dream. All day, every day. The dream. The dream. Now, here's the fun part. Mooer's AI band tech. AI. Play a riff and the GL100 automatically picks a drum pattern that it thinks will suit the part that you just played. Genius or a step too far? I don't know. With intuitive controls, a touch screen, and super duper clever features like auto record and time stretch, it kind of puts the Electro-Harmonix Pico Looper 360 Plus in the corner and says, sit there, I'll take this one. The really good news is that it costs just over 100 notes. And at this price point, the Mooer GL100 feels like a steal for what it offers. But would you trust it to replace your drummer, or is it just another practice tool? Comment section, let me know. The answer is probably no, and I'm just fishing for engagement there. If I'm honest, I am being honest there. It's not going to replace your drummer. It is just another practice tool. It was just a funny thing that I thought to write whilst I was writing the script for this episode of TWIG. Am I being too? No, not being too honest here. It won't replace your drummer. Unless, of course, you don't have a drummer, then it's better than not having a drummer. Unless, of course, you have a drummer and it's a bad drummer, or he never shows up. Then this is better than that. Next one. Andy's Pick of the Week. Ooh, last pick of the week for the year. And it's not another looper, it's okay. You may have seen and heard the Spring King from Danelectro, a rather large and rather fun reverb pedal with a real spring in it that was, and still is, surprisingly affordable. I've played it a number of times, and while it was not the best reverb with a spring in it, because that crown belongs to the White Whale version 2 from Crazy Tube Circuits, it is still fun, and it even encourages you to kick it. It's got a little thing on there that's called Kick Pad, and you can do that, and it does all sorts of clangy, swappy-woppy, springy-dingy sounds. Danelectro have solved this size issue by making it into a micro pedal enclosure and doubling the price. Well, almost. The Spring King Jr. still has a spring inside it to create the reverb, and yes, you can still kick it, but it doesn't take up the space of 3 pedals. The volume knob has gone, but you've still got control of a tone and the amount of reverb. I'm also slightly sad to see the Danelectro food pedals switch disappear and be replaced by a standard micro pedal foot switch. Although this makes complete sense and is exactly what I would have done because these should be more reliable. I have to try one of these because I think it might be the smallest real spring reverb in existence. If it's not, again, please let me know in the comments section because I love real spring reverb, and it takes a digital spring a lot to impress me. And if this truly does sound any good in a micro pedal, you could even stuff this down the back of your amp in the effects loop and kind of forget that it's there, because it can't need much power either. I do think it's rather expensive though, at over 200 notes, and the more I think about it, the less sensible it becomes. So why is this my pick of the week? Nostalgia and fun and the hope that it sounds good. And it's around that time of year where I can say, I'm going to try one of these at NAMM. So I will try one of these at NAMM, and I'll let you know. Thank you to the wonderful people that support this show on Patreon. Their names are up on screen right now. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Oh, And these people support the show right here on YouTube. Hello to you, and thank you so much. Don't know where my voice went up like that then. Ugh. If you want your name up in digital lights, then click the join button right here on YouTube or visit my Patreon link in the video description. And here's a special thanks to the top tier members. Alinta Boston, April Hughes, Buddha Blue, Boom Shakalaka, Buzzor, Dirk, Doug Paget, Hugh G. Rection, Yindrich Telka, Johnny McBadminton, Michael Lerner, Inhale. This prank is officially sponsored by Jason Welch, Andrew Morgan, Gary O'Neill, Josh Tamberg, Peter Hall, PQ Deads, Rob in Cali, Sarang Narayan, and Southern Panda 33. Thank you, top tier members. Whew, we did it. Last time in 2024. Almost. Before I leave you, here is comment of the week, or geek of the week, if you will, from Mr. E to myself. And Mr. E to myself says, find a bad Ibanez, you'll love it. And what I think that they're trying to say there is that even a bad Ibanez is a good Ibanez. That's how I perceive it. And I think they're right. Mostly. No, they are right. Back to the sad news that this is indeed the last episode of the Week in Gear for this year, but I will be back next week with the Year in Gear. So if you have any suggestions for it and gear that needs to be in that list, you know what to do, just drop a comment. Until then, YouTube thinks that you should go and watch this video, so I'll see you over there. Bye-bye!